very solid. This is very, very solid. Actuator. Right. Well, that's interesting. I'm taking off the sleeve hitch, the manual sleeve hitch, this one with the big long handle, because I'm installing the John Deere Products electric sleeve hitch. And as I'm taking off those screws holding it on both sides, and they are not holding, they never hold it tight, they kind of sit loose. The connection on the sleeve hitch is open here, it's open, it's a semi-hole, and this moves up and down, I guess, for some flexibility. Those screws that hold this arm to the box of the tractor, they have a spacer, and this spacer is so worn out. The sheer force of this sleeve hitch moving up and down. So it's a good thing. I have been using this for 3 months now, 2 months, plowing and all that. And so this has been in use about 40 hours, this sleeve hitch, and this is how it's worn out. If I was to use it for longer than one season, this would just break. So I don't know if they need to be replaced every 50 hours or this is poor material or what, but if you have a sleeve hitch like that, you need to take a look at that and possibly replace those spacers. So basically, first you need to attach this frame to the box at the back of the tractor, and then the rest will follow. The other piece is this, which is easier. Just you clip it on at the back by these. But anyways, this box needs to sit, because this is attaching, this is carrying the weight of the whole implement at the back. So they give you these brackets. This bracket is, because you have to you screw it back to the and that's easy. You adjust the height here, how high you want these from the ground. This is where the hitch sits, so you can screw this, move it up or down. It's supposed to be about 6 inches from the ground, as they say. Here the side, as you can see, it's not exactly the same width. There's a gap here, and I need to put a spacer. So this part from John Deere Hitch is a little more narrow than the box on John Deere. That's one. Number two, the screws that they give you are perfect for the holes pre-drilled on the John Deere Hitch metal piece, but you need to find holes on the John Deere box, and that's a little bit of a problem. On the left you have this big hole and the corresponding hole on the right, but it's big, it's huge. This screw is way too small. So here you have this smaller hole right below the big hole, and that hole is good. It's a little too large, but it would do, I guess. But on the other side, on the right side, there's no corresponding hole. The big ones are on both sides, one here and one there, symmetrical. But the smaller one doesn't have the corresponding hole on the right side. So that kind of complicates things. At the bottom you have this huge thing, I don't know what that's for, and you have a smaller hole here, which would do, I guess, and I attach once I do that hole. Again, it's a little, the diameter is a little too large, but it could do. The best option seems to be a hole on top here. There's a hole right here, and it has a corresponding hole right here. So there's two of them on both sides. But guess what? They are a little too narrow, and the Johnny Hitch screw won't fit in. Which is this screw, and it won't go in. It's the next size down. So I'm gonna find a smaller screw and put it through these small holes on top. Every tractor, every manufacturer has different boxes with different holes, and Johnny Hitch wants to have a universal hitch, and they want their hitch to fit everywhere, so that's why they give you this adapter, which has a lot of different holes, and for length they work. This totally works. But just John Deere doesn't have enough holes drilled on this box, and I'm not gonna drill. This metal is so solid. This is John Deere. So the hitch is installed. It looks beautiful. Now when you have a cart to hook up, they have this kind of connector that hooks up easily to the back of your box, to the tongue at the back of every box. Now you cannot get to it if you have the actuator installed, because the actuator itself is in the way and you would have to remove it every time. But you need that kind of single hole at the back. So what do? Luckily, Johnny Products sells this multi-tongue hitch, which is this one. And it's a simple device, but you know, nobody else sells them. They are the only ones. It costs $40. Otherwise, you have to come up with some other ingenious ways to hook it up. But with this multi-tongue hitch, it's very easy. You just put it on your sleeve hitch, and as a sleeve hitch, and then bam, your cart can be connected. Otherwise, it won't go in without that adapter. So this is a great thing that they sell. And of course you can move it up and down with the sleeve hitch, which of course is not the main function of this actuator, but you could adjust it as well. By the way, this dump cart Ohio Steel is great, but everything sits very tight. The screws, I had to change the screws, like I said, but it's a great system. I put on those screws at the back in different spots actually. I was mostly concerned about having the electrical. There's a cable coming out, and that cable, you can run it on top of the tractor, but then it would be kind of in the way. It has to still go inside and connect to the battery and have that switch. You need to drill a hole somewhere, find a place for the switch. I was concerned about the electrical lines. I ran that cable down here. You can see it. It's that white little thing, white and blue, right there. That's the one. That's the one. So I pushed the cable in there to the right side underneath. It didn't go all the way under the green covering. It didn't go all the way. It had to come lower by the pedals. You just have to make sure that it's not in the way of any other, like the hydraulics are not interfering with that the cable is not in the way of the pedals and any other moving part. But then you push it, you push it up there. It goes inside the compartment toward the battery, and then you run a second set of cables to put the switch in, to install the switch. And there's not that many places actually to find for the switch. It's kind of strange. You would think that there's so many spots, but I picked what I thought was a perfect spot for like right there. You see the little hole drilled. I thought that was perfect until I wanted to close the hood, and I realized that the hood is in the way. So there, I found a spot. You can find a spot for that switch, but sometimes you need to look closer for the convenient and good spot for that switch. Some people put it lower where my keys are hanging, but it's up to you. The electrical was actually the easiest to install. I was concerned about the electrical part of this installation. The mechanical, the box took me about an hour, plus the trip to the hardware store. With some, I got the washers, spacers, and different size screws. But the cables, the electrical, I was concerned about that because I know nothing about it. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not an electrician. But actually installing the cables was the easiest. It took me like 10 minutes. There's a diagram and it's very easy. The mechanical sleeve hitch, this one here, is good, and I'm glad I got it. We got it because I was reluctant to take on a job of installing the sleeve hitch with the electrical parts, but like I say, that was super easy. And I'm going to keep the mechanical sleeve hitch as a backup. This is very solid. First of all, this is so solid, it sits well. The mechanical, it has a give, it moves, it doesn't sit, it's movable. It moves up and down, left and right. It has a lot of give, which I guess protects the hardware, but on the other hand, it's more difficult to keep your plow or whatever you're pulling behind, to keep it in one spot, to keep it focused, and to plow straight lines, because the plow just moves left and right as it pleases. With this one, you have much more control because this whole box sits there very tight, and then you can move it up and down with downward force, and you have much more control on how deep it goes, so that you don't skip some furrows and so forth. Let me now show you how it works. I plowed a little bit, so you just look back. You have a switch, and you can lower that as much as you want. You can lower as you go on the fly. And the beautiful thing was that with this setup being much more stiff, the earth would turn over and stay over. It wouldn't plunk right down back onto the ground. And if you get stuck, which sometimes I still did, because we have a lot of rocks and roots, and the ground is very hard, and the grass goes at least 6 inches down under. So if you get stuck and your wheels are spinning, the motor is strong enough. X530 John Deere is definitely powerful enough to pull it, but the wheels spin, and maybe if I got chains, it would be better. But if you get stuck, you just pull it up a little bit and you get unstuck, and then you can immediately lower the plow with a flick of the switch, so you don't lose the depth. So the results are much more uniform, and I was able to draw a straight line in plowing. And the only thing is that that little thing bent. I moved the plow to the right. As you see, it's not hooked up on the middle hole, but on the left, so that the plow is more to the right side, so that the furrows are more narrow. And then you have those screws at the back to keep it in place. And there's so much pressure and so much tension on this bar, because there's a lot of force. This plate got bent. Look how weak this is. I can almost bend it with my fingers. And this is a plate from John Deere products, so this plate's not the best. But that's small potatoes. This is solid and this is solid. That plate, I don't really even need, kind of need it. It's good to have it, but anyways, it's tough. It's tough. Breaking new ground is tough, but it's much easier, much better, much more even with this John Deere hitch, John Deere products hitch, because of the downward pressure. Tell you the truth, I wish somebody told me about this earlier. I thought that the major difference between the two systems, the manual and the electric hitch, was the actuator, was just the ease of using it. But it's not. The difference is the downward force. That makes all the difference. The downward force lets you apply those implements, ground engaging attachments, so that they do the work. And it's the downward force that makes the uni hitch a vastly superior product, superior to the manual hitch. And it's not difficult to install. It's more expensive, but it's worth it. It's a very useful addition to your garden tractor. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Jesus, your name is holy, Holy One, my Savior, my Lord, you are Christ, Messiah alone. I worship your holy name, my Lord, my Redeemer. I worship your holy name, my Lord, my Redeemer, my King of Kings, my Holy One, Son of God and Son of Man, Lamb of God, worthy of all glory and honor and praise are you, Lord. Holy One, my Redeemer, Jesus, your name is holy, Holy One, my Savior, my Lord, you are Christ, Messiah alone. Holy One, my Redeemer, Jesus, your name is holy, Holy One, my Savior, my Lord, you are Christ, Messiah alone. You are Christ, Messiah alone. You are Christ, Messiah alone. My King of Kings.